All right, now we finally get to part two, customizing your icons. So this is where we're going to use the basic drawing tools, and we're going to create 5 icons. So you have to look at your project and what type of icons could you create. So I could create a newsletter icon. I could create a dog and a cat icon. And I might create something that's just generic for our team. I could create a pin map location icon, a number of different, there's so many different options for you, but it has to be appropriate for your specific device, okay? Devices, your project. Does that make sense? Okay, so first thing we need to do is let's jump into part B to see what it says we have to do. So part B, we're creating icons. So we need to create one new artboard. And we name the artboard icons. So I've located 5 icons that I want to use, or that I'm going to create. So this part is you're going to put them on into your device after you've created them. Okay, so if you notice right here, this is how we're graded. So we've already talked about using Photoshop to optimize the images and placing the images in there. That's 45 points, as well as the thought process behind your icons, and then the craftsmanship is 45 points. So let's go back into XD. We know how to add an artboard, correct? So I'm just going to go to the artboard tool. I'm going to create just another big page, and I'm just going to add it here. But what I want to do is I'm going to view, zoom to fit all, and we know how to move these around, right? We just click on it and drag it. And to rename them is very simple, as I've demonstrated. You just double click on the type, and I can just rename this icons. There we go, perfect. So we're set with that. Would sketching be a valuable tool to help with this? Would sketching help you with this? Most definitely it would. I'm also going to give you another tool to help you. Remember in week 1, we talked about those UI kits. There is a UI kit, the Wires Mobile. Let's open this up. If you zoom in to under the UI elements, if I come up to here, and I'm going to zoom in right into this area right here. Here are some icons. However, keep this in mind, you cannot use these as your own. They must be modified. So you cannot modify any of these. You cannot modify the Facebook. You cannot modify the Twitter. You can't modify the phone. Any of these are not eligible to be used. Really, all I have that I could modify is I'm going to use a heart. Number one, I'm going to show you something we can do with the heart, but I'm going to modify it. I'm going to use this right here. I'm going to create something that represents our team. I can use, maybe I can modify this a little bit, but I can't use it the same. It cannot be the same. They cannot be the same as what you see here. Does that make sense? So this isn't appropriate for any of the devices. These are something that would be used, but they're not something you're creating. So let's just take, for example, the heart. All I have to do is copy it. I just select it and I copy it. Command or Control C. I'm going to jump back into my artboard. And what I'm going to do is just paste it there. If I just click on the artboard and paste it on my artboard. If I do not do that, it's going to paste it in the center of my document. And then I'll have to look for it because it's so small. I'm going to resize it. Notice right here, it said it's linked. It's what's called as a symbol. We don't want that. So you want to right click and unlink this component. This is very important. Notice I lost that. And we're going to change this fill to black. These must be black. Okay, so now let's look at let's go back in, and I want to sketch out a few possibilities here. So I could do this. So for mine, right? So we have this heart. And I could do something like for maybe I might have this for preventive care. So I might take my existing heart, but use my line segment tool, or actually not my line segment tool, my pen tool, and maybe create something like this. All the icons have to be black. Yes, it is black and white only. If I wanted to create a pin map location, it would be something like this, correct? I would just create something and it would look like this. I might even, since this is an animal clinic, I might decide to put in a little, Red Cross type, something that signals that. I might have something for a newsletter. I might do something very simple for my newsletter. That could be, might represent a newsletter using basic shapes. You can see they're all, this would be with the rectangle tool, the line segment tool. This would be with my ellipse. This would be, again, my pen tool. I could create something very simple. If we had that person, maybe I want to create something that represents the team. So maybe I might have a stethoscope. Pretty simple, aren't they? I could, use a simple circle and create something very simple, with a cat, for example, right? Maybe use that heart as the nose, my pen tool to make a circle or to bend those. I might have some whiskers. Very, very simple. So let's see what we can do with this. All right, so now I'm going to come back into here. Black and white only. I would suggest that you turn on a grid. It's going to help you with the square and maybe make these larger, something like 30. And it's definitely going to help you. Trust me. I can make this. So from here, let's use my pen tool. If I select my pen tool, it's very easy, the pen tool. I can just click. So I can click. We'll just click here. I can drag here. We can come up here. See how I'm using my grid? And then escape. Escape ends the grid or disconnects the pen tool. So now what do we need to do? Well, we have a border, but that border is not going to be seen. It's gray. We need to change that to white. So I just drag up to there to make it white, but I want it thicker. I want maybe my pixel size to be like maybe 4 pixels. How was that? Pretty fast, wasn't it? Okay, that's one. Let's go back in and actually, let's go back into here and let's tackle this. Okay, so there's a pin map location, but don't use this. Please do not use this one. I want you to create your own. It's very easy to do. I can use my ellipse tool. So let's select the ellipse tool over here. I'm going to use my grid. I can click, and I want this to be a perfect circle, so I do that by holding the Shift key down. If I want to scale it from the center point out, I hold the Option key down. Look at that. It's snapping to my grid. I release, and then we have a perfect circle. I can look right here and see it's 240 by 240. Okay. I need to have this center also. So what I'm going to do is I want to create another circle. So if I copy this circle, Command C, or I can come up here and copy, right? I can copy it. I can paste it, Command or Control V. It pastes it right in place, we know that. But let's resize this. So if I click on that, I can then hold the Shift key down. Or if I want to hold the Option key down, it'll scale it from the inside or from the center point. But if not, we can just scale this. And we can highlight both of these. And we can align them up here. Align, it's vertically and horizontally. Way cool. So now, what I need to create that point on this, correct? If I double click on my circle, I got one step ahead of me. I double clicked twice. So if I double click on my circle, let me zoom in here. I'm double clicking too fast here. Okay, so let's come into here. Okay, so look at my pen tool here. And what I'm doing is, let's move this over here. I'm clicking too fast is what I'm doing. I can take my pen tool and I can click right there. Nope, I'm sorry. Let me backtrack here. Let's get our circle here. Let's deselect it. Let's select this icon right here. Double click and I can, all righty, let's try this again here. Let's start over since it doesn't want to work for me here. Okay, I double click and now watch. If I just drag this down there and I'm using my grid to align this. See that? I'm using it to align. I don't want it off center. I'm just going to drag it down to here. Now, to get the corner right there, if we double click on this, it's going to make it a corner point. Now, let's just take this and we'll create another oval. We'll keep it right here. And there we go. Now, let's create the little sign right here. That's going to be very easy to do. And let's use our rectangle. I'm going to just click and drag, and then I'm going to copy this. I want to copy this, and I'm going to show you something else you can do with this. So if I copy it, Command V or Control V, and paste it, Command V or Control V, let's rotate it. Let's rotate it 90 degrees. Look at that. Now, let's combine this. Not group it, but combine it. So right up here, if you're all familiar with like the Pathfinder and Illustrator, this works the same. I can combine those. Look at that. Now I can resize this. I can move it into here. I can hold this, both of those, and we can align this so it's precise. We can change this fill to be black. We can change this to be black. There we go. And one thing I don't want a border on here. So I'm going to remove that. I don't want a border on this as well because that is weakening contrast, correct? Okay, so there we have two of our icons created. All right, any questions on that? Newsletter. Let's do a newsletter here really quick. So a newsletter, we will take our drawing tool, which is our rectangle tool. I'm going to use my grid. Make it something like this, perhaps. And let's add another shape in here that's probably, something that's similar to, that would represent, an article. I can move it up a little bit. This would be an image, not an article, but there would be an image. And then I can change it, or I don't want a border on it, but I do want to have the fill as black. We can, let's use our grid again. Maybe we'll take this and make another shorter one here. And we'll do the same thing, or a smaller one, not shorter, smaller one. And we'll do the same over here. Let's just take this, and I'm going to try and make sure everything's aligned because, again, I want to practice principles of design. And now let's add something that resembles type. Okay, so let's use the repeat grid as well as the line segment tool. So if I take my line segment tool, I'm just going to click, and I want to make sure this is aligned correctly. If I hold the shift key down, it constrains it so it doesn't move. Okay, so we have this selected. Let's go now make it a repeat grid. So if I click on the repeat grid, now look, I can move this down. But now you can see I've got all this space in there, right? If I want to decrease the space, we know that we can just click on one of these spacers in there and just drag. Look at that. Very cool. I can do the same thing for this one too. So if I line that, we can do the same thing over here. And we turn it into a repeat grid. The repeat grid is not just for big shapes. It could be for anything we want. And we'll do the same here. What is the spacing in between here? It's 9. Can you see that? Well, let's get the same. And we'll just add one more into there. There we go. There is our newsletter. How cool is that? Pretty simple. Are they much simpler than you anticipated or you thought they might be? It gives you a great, boy, it really gives you some practice working with these, just these basic drawing tools. That's for sure. Let's do one more here. Let's go into the wires mobile, and I want to take this. I'm going to create an icon for my team. So if I highlight that and I copy, I'm going to come back into my document. I want to make sure I'm working on my artboard, or my artboard selected, so I can just paste that, and we'll just scale it. And I want to scale this. I'm going to hold the shift key down to scale. Okay, and this one, let's just kind of zoom out a little bit. All right, so here we go. I'm going to I want to make this just a little bit larger. I'll keep it about this size right here. I think we can work with that. And I want to unlink it, or yeah, unlink the component, and we want to change it to black. Okay, now let's go back in and just kind of look what we did on when I sketched this. I wanted something that just resembles a stethoscope, correct? Okay, that's going to be easy. That's going to be created with the line segment tool and our ellipse tool. If I want to, so let's do this. So first thing I'm going to do is take my ellipse tool, or not my ellipse, I'm sorry, my line segment tool, and I'm just going to drag. I'm going to do an angle, a little angle here. I want to change it to white, of course. And I'm going to go 4 pixels. Why did I decide 4 pixels? Is there a reason I did that? Actually, let's backtrack here. I want it over here, I'm sorry. Is there a reason I would assign this as 4 pixels? I want to be consistent with my other shape. The heart, remember I did 4 pixels on the heart. So we change that to 4, and we're going to change this to white, and there we go. Now, let's use our ellipse tool. And I can take the ellipse tool. I'm just going to make this a perfect circle. I don't need a border around this. We can just move this into position there. There we go. Look how simple this is. And now I need the other end of it. Okay, so we have, there could be a little challenge here. We have this kind of curves, right? It's not going to be a square, although you could do it as a square if you want to. But we can take our line or our pen tool and we could do something like this. We could do this, click on that, and do something like this and hit escape. Select that, and that points it down, but that wasn't correct, right? If I want to make it an arch, I have to double click on it, and then I can move it down and kind of get that arc in there. If I want to make these, if I want to make it a little bit smaller, well, let's rotate this before we make it smaller. We'll rotate it 180 degrees. There we go. We could move this into position here. So yeah, I think I do want to make it just slightly a little bit smaller, so it's not so deep. There we go. And then we want this to be, oops, we do want a border, but we want it to be white, correct? And then we want it to be 4 pixels. Okay, now let's just make this easy for us. Let's copy this. You can again copy and paste, and then we just move it over to here. And I might decide to remove the fill but put a border on this. Maybe make the border a little bit thicker and white, of course. Actually, no, I don't want it thicker. What am I thinking? It should be 4 pixels. And then this would be a little bit smaller, of course. I don't want that. There we go. And then I could copy this again. I could paste it. Then I can just move it over here. If I hold my shift key down, it doesn't move, or it constrains it so it stays on that horizontal path. And then all we need to do is take our line segment tool and find the center of this, click and drag, and change that to 4 to match everything else, and white. There we go. Look at that. So there are 4 of our icons. Okay, so I will allow you to do this week. You need to create the 5 icons. If you want to position them where they go, that's great. If not, they're going to have to be done in week 3, so you can save yourself some time. Although this isn't going to be, you're not going to be able to really position this because we don't have a Google map in there yet. You know, I would definitely suggest that you group each one of these. So I can group it, and you need to copy it. It must stay on the artboard as icons, and then I could, if I want to, I can come down into here, and I can replace this with that, but I have to resize it, correct? There we go. And we'll make sure it's aligned to my artboard. Oh, it is. Perfect. All right. Any questions? Let's try one last. I think anyone want to do one other one? A short one really quick. I can make it, you know what? Here's a really interesting one. You can make a dog and a cat one. So let's attempt a cat, because that could be kind of a challenge maybe. Let's take this same heart. Okay, let's take this same heart that we had. So if I come back into here, I'm going to select the heart. I copy it. I'm going to come back into my XD file. Make sure my artboard's selected. I'm going to paste it in there. We'll make this a little bit larger. Let's just bring this over here. And definitely want to unlink it. Remember, you want to unlink it. When you see that lock there, you don't want that. So we want to unlink it and we want to change it to black. So there's our nose. Let's just go with this as the nose. Let's use our ellipse tool. I'm going to create the shape of the head. And I'm going to send this to the back. Object, arrange, send to back. I'm going to put a border on here of, let's just say 4. And I'm going to change it to solid black. We don't want a grayscale. I can use my polygon tool for ears, correct? And we know the polygon, if you know, depending on if you've used it, it always defaults to the last shape you use. But if you use the up and down arrow keys, you change the sides. I can make the ears a little bit wider. I can then, you know, we change our border to solid black, of course, and we'll go to the 4 pixels. I could bring this and then rotate it, but I want another one, so let's copy it and paste it. So we have 2 of them. And then I can bring this down over here and I can rotate it. We know we can manually rotate these just by moving our mouse up there, and we can rotate that. That says it's on a 30-degree, or let's maybe just put it on a 30-degree angle. And what I'm going to do is move it over here. Maybe 30. Okay, let's just try a 30-degree. You can play around with it. This could be a minus 30 degrees. And I could move this over to here. They're both aligned. Now, if I want to combine those, watch. I select these 3 objects and combine. Look at that. I can use my, you know, line segment tool. We could create a couple whiskers here. And we'll draw this back into here. And we'll change this to 4 pixels, and we'll change this to black. I can copy it and paste it, and then I could, if I wanted, I could actually move it down. If I want to add another one, we could copy it. We can copy this one again, copy it and paste it, and then we can just move this one down too. We do the same over on this side. Pen tool. If I took the pen tool, and double click, could I create a circle, kind of a mouth, symbolizes for his mouth a little bit. Oops, I have to hit the escape, remember? And we change that to 4. Or could I just, you know, so we could do something like this. We could copy this. I can copy this and paste it. And now let's use this up here. Right up here, I can flip it. See how that flips? If I wanted to flip it, that's just something else, but I'm not going to flip it. There we go. Any questions? So again, make sure when you're using the pen tool that you're hitting that escape when you want to stop it. Double click, I can change this to however I want. That'd probably be a better circle than what I had right here, but again, I can modify those. A dog and a, let's see, so if you make a dog, is that counted as 2 icons? No, a dog would be only 1 icon. You have to have 5 different ones, 5 completely different ones. A dog, something like a dog. Okay, a dog and a cat. That would only be one. But here's something that you might want to think about. How do you make something that resembles a dog and a cat? I'm going to give you something to think about. Let's kind of move this. Let's kind of come over here. So I could take and draw. Maybe I do something like this. Again, I would use this would be my rectangle tool. And we know that we can change each individual corner, the radius of each individual corner. Maybe I might put a line down here that splits it. I might use my polygon tool. So maybe this is all solid black. I might put, you know, my polygon tool up here for this one. I might put kind of a floppy ear for here. I could draw an eye here. Maybe it's, you know, just using my ellipse tool. I could maybe make a smaller eye with my ellipse tool here. I might put, for a dog, I might use my ellipse tool, my repeat grid, to make a series of dots right there. I might have some whiskers for the cat here. And of course, we'll have our smiley face here. That could be dog and cat. But that would be one. So you have to have 5 total. Does that, you know, here's another, something for a dog, for example. Let's just kind of delete these off here. Here might be another idea for a dog. You might have, you know, your rectangle tool. Rectangle tool again, but this time you'd round the corners right here. You might have, you know, your rectangle tool and, you know, for your ear, or maybe a triangle, something like to that effect. You could have your ellipse right here. You could have a circle. Maybe you put it, you know, so you could see it. That's really not the best. I'd probably have to refine that through my sketching, but you can see just basic shapes, right? So yeah, it definitely needed some work on that one. So with that being said, another thing I want you to try and keep in mind is try and keep the same style on them. So, you know, you don't want one that's solid black and the other ones are all white, or mix and match. You know, so how would I fix this one? I would, you know, I'd have to work on this one. So I want everything to be a consistent type of a theme going forward. Do not use any special effects on this. There should be no color. It's just really, you're just getting practice with these drawing tools. That's the most important thing. Okay, so you're going to get feedback on these as well. So you more likely you'll probably have to, you know, make some little improvements or adjustments on them in week 3, but that's all right. You know, that would be maybe another reason why you don't really want to add them this week. So you could, you know, maybe just keep them here. As long as I see the 5 icons submitted, you're going to submit this in the XD file. It has to be your XD file. But as long as I see them up here, you're fine, because you're going to be making revisions. More than likely, you'll make revisions to these in week 3, and that's when you'll want to add them to your artboard. Does that make sense? So what you are required to add is the logo to each device, and all the required images must be added to each device, with the exception of the Google map and these additional pages. We don't need to add images yet. We will later on, or in week 3 we will. All right, did y'all learn something cool? I told you those techniques were pretty cool, weren't they? All right, fantastic. So with that being said, happy designing. Have fun with this. I look forward to your project at the end of this week. Y'all have a great day.